Hello everyone, my name is Narayan Sethi and this is my EDA on the terrorism dataset. Okay, so I start by importing the required packages. I have imported NumPy, I have imported pandas, I have imported matplotlib, warnings and seaborn. Next up, I have written some code to avoid any kind of future warnings. Next, I start by inserting the data and reading some columns so I get an idea what it is all about. Next, what I do is I rename the columns for some easier modulations on the data and so it is more readable. So next, I simply keep the columns which are required and remove the unnecessary columns. This is the new data. This is the new data which I think is enough for a decent EDA. Next, I get some info on the data and moving on, I check for any null values that might exist in the data and then replace the numeric null values with 0 and string null values with the string unknown. Now as we can see, there are no null values in the data right now, and this is the final clean data. Next, I start by analyzing the data. The first thing I analyze is the most killed people in any attack. Iraq saw the highest casualties in an attack, which is 1570, followed by United States, which saw 1384 killed and more than 8000 people wounded in an attack. Okay, so the next one is the most frequent used method by the terrorist, which is bombing, and it has been used 88,225 times. The next up is the countries which are attacked more frequently, and we can see Iraq is the number one country which has been attacked, followed by Pakistan and Afghanistan at the third. Next up, we see the highest number of attacks in any year, and it shows that in 2014 there are highest number of attacks, which is followed by 2015 and 2016. Okay, so the year with least attacks is 1971, as it's only 471 attacks. Here is some visual representation of the data. I start with the visual representation of success rate of any attack. As we can see, 1 represents the success and 0 represents the failure of an attack, and the success rate is approximately of 90.2%, which is very high actually. And next we see the number of attacks in a country, and as we have seen, Iraq is the most frequently attacked country, followed by Pakistan and Afghanistan. Next up, we see the target for attacks, and we can here see that private citizens and property have been targeted most frequently and most number of times, and the military and the police organizations are the second and the third one respectively. Next up, we see the most used method of attacking, and as we can see, bombing is the most often used method of attacking, followed by armed assault and assassinations. And bombing is clearly the preferred method of terrorists, and it is clear that bombing is an essential part to conduct their attacks. The next one is scatter plot, which shows the people killed in a year with success rate of any attack. Here the orange blips represent a successful attack, whereas the blue ones represent a failed attack. Here we can see the highest number of attacks in year 2014, which is this one, and almost all of the attacks are successful. The unsuccessful attacks are very less compared to the successful ones. As we can see, the orange dots clearly outnumbers the blue dots. The next one is the most lethal type, which has killed most number of people, and it is clear that explosives have killed most number of people as compared to any other weapon. The explosive bar is really high compared to the other ones. Next up, I discuss the attack status over the years. As we can see, the attacks are uniformly rising till the 2014 part, and after 2014 there's a sudden tremendous rise in the attacks by terrorist organizations. In 2014, as we have discussed, also saw the highest number of attacks in any year as well. Next up, I move on to most wounded people from a specific weapon, and it is clear that explosive has wounded most number of people in any attack. Okay, so the next one is most people killed in an year, and as we have seen that year 2014 has witnessed highest number of attacks, and so it is clear that most number of people killed in a year is 2014, and the amount of people killed is 16,903 people, which is killed in the year 2014. Okay, so my conclusion from this is that terror activities are really growing at a decent pace, which can be hindrance in the growth of any countries. Countries altogether should take some steps in this direction to break down this pace of growth of terrorism. The hot countries of terrorism are Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, and Colombia. And a really interesting point is we can see the all five countries are developing countries. Terrorists are targeting developing countries, which can be a big hindrance in the growth of such countries. My recommendations would be government should keep tighter security for private buildings, as they have been the number one target for the terrorist, and there should be more advanced check, especially to detect any bombing substance in order to avoid like bombing threats, as they are the number one preferred way of terrorists to attack. Okay, thank you so much.